Cherie don't wanna be with you no more. Cherie don't wanna be with you no more. Cherie don't wanna be with you no more. I'm sorry, Jeff, it's over.
What?
You're juggling so many different elements in this film. Like the comedy spans lots of different kind of subgenres of comedy in different ways, and there is a strong narrative thread through it. Moving those pieces around, how complicated was that as part of the development process?
The biggest challenge, of course, was in the writing. We spent about 4 years writing on and off to try and get. To try and get things in the right order and create the right shape and the right tone. I think our biggest challenge with the writing was taking a premise that is a bit larger than life and really kind of trying to ground it into the reality that we know and live, so that audience members will be watching us on screen and relate to us as human beings. That was the hardest thing.
I think it was, we needed to spend that time to kind of like explode the premise out and make these, there were certain drafts of our film that were like, well, we clearly need $55 million to make this version.
Some of the stuff we were writing,
speedboats and like scuba diving, we're not going to have that on a New Zealand film budget. But yeah, it was also about just kind of working out the tone of it. And I guess because we did start out with a premise that could go so epic, we're just kind of working out the rules of the world and what our tone is, and Jackie and I both bring slightly different things. And we have slightly different strengths, and so it was about working out how to combine those into our script. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, a big moment in that process was actually the reality of our producer saying, well, look, this is how much money you're going to have.
And then quite quickly after that, I think we embraced a kind of charming indie tone.
Yeah, because that's I feel like it works, and it was probably the only way we were going to be able to. It sat really well with us after that. We were like, oh, okay, so this is the style and this is what we're going to be able to get away with, and it kind of forces you to be a bit more resourceful in terms of the premise as well. Like, what are the hokey ways that we do this job? And that's where all the sort of singing telegram stuff came in and things like that, sort of being a bit more resourceful on their shoestring budget and our own shoestring budget of our film.
Yes.
There's a really high production value scene where the two of you are sitting on the bonnet of a car and just having a drink and a chat.
Yeah.
And it's
Thank
a
you for
moment
appreciating
that
the
high production value. Yeah.
And there's a moment where you interrupt your conversation to call out to a woman that's walking in the back of shot, saying, "Don't go down that way. There's some creepy guys down there." And I've appreciated that both times I've seen the film for it being a really realistic aside.
Yeah.
But you've obviously made a defined choice for that to be in the film. Why does that moment exist?
It's funny, a number of people have mentioned that little moment to me after screenings. And the reason we really held on to that little moment was that it is for us a film about friendship and a film about kind of the sisterhood in a funny way, and females, and looking out for each other. And there was no reason to keep it in narratively, but we just really liked that we're looking out, that this character especially is looking out for other women. And
yeah, it was was it a kind of save the cat thing? I'm not sure. It was kind of like we wanted people to know, it's actually part of a bigger scene.
Which we cut down,
So we do actually see the creepy guys in the bigger scene, but we cut it because it didn't kind of it was kind of a gag, it didn't kind of make sense.
It was a bit cartoony.
It was a bit big for the film, but we wanted to keep that bit in. It felt weird. We tried various edits with that out, and it felt weird without it.
Yeah, I think mainly because the premise, like, we break couples up for cash, so it's kind of quite morally ambiguous. So we also wanted to make sure that we did have some kind of, some.
Yeah, and it's also a little point where we start to see, we see the difference between Mel and Jen, I think, as well, and that Mel, it could be read as that too, is that sort of Mel is a bit softer and and I think we always talked about this in the writing that Jen and Mel probably came to this business with slightly different intentions. Like, I think Mel genuinely, she's a little bit more naive than Jen. I think she genuinely was like, we're doing a really great service for people, And
Jen's more cynical, and so that little scene also plays as Mel wanting to connect with other people, whereas Jen's really trying to keep a stranglehold on her friend. I think terribly scared that she's going to kind of reject her, which she may or may not do for people who haven't seen the film yet.
One of the great things about amalgamating the different tones is how you kind of jump in and out of quite absurd moments in the film. And some of them are the fact that there's absurd streaks to your characters. But in terms of, without giving too much away, like crafting some very specific sequences, was that an important part of how you saw the film from early on? To be able to sort of jump in and out of realistic and less realistic situations?
I don't know how conscious it was, but
I mean, the main big one, which I won't reference completely because are we spoiling? I don't know.
Nah,
but
the
big kind of karaoke sequence, we'll call it. That came out of that was in from very early drafts, and it was really a way of kind of getting the, we just didn't want the backstory to come out. We wanted an original way for the backstory of their friendship to come out. So
it's always quite hard to expose the backstory without it sounding like exposition. So we thought a karaoke flashback sequence might be the way to do it.
Yeah, and it just sort of fit in with the kind of weirdness of that, the drunken night that they're in, and it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of way of doing it, I guess, as well. And so Jackie and I are quite like irreverent in that way, and we just thought we'd put lots of silly touches. And I mean, essentially, if it was still making us laugh in the writing room, if we're still laughing, like lots of silly stuff just stayed in. And we cut a bunch of silly stuff too.
But both of us love subverting things. Like, for example, there's that small little moment where James Rolleston's character Jordan is, pouring a drink on himself, and Mel is finding him a bit sexy, and then we thought, well, why not subvert then? What if he's pouring Coke on himself? So it's just that little bit weirder, but we still kind of shoot it in slow-mo, and she's still finding it sexy, but it's just that little bit odd. Yeah. Just subverting little kind of cliches.
Yeah, because we are making that kind of film, but then we're also having a wink in some moments of it, I think.
Of the kind of buddy comedy or rom-com elements.
Yeah.
New Zealanders like taking the piss a little bit, I think.
Can't help it.
Can't take it too seriously, even a rom-com genre. Hey. Ow.
The Flicks review of the film describes James as being wonderfully gormless, which I didn't write the review, but it was also, for some reason, the word that kind of came into my head after the scene as well.
Yeah.
There's something about his performance in this film, and apart from just saying gormless, I actually don't know how else to characterise how some of those scenes just play, where there's like nothing going on, and it's the funniest fucking thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Shooting those scenes with him, what's it like when someone's just kind of giving?
It's hard to not laugh, for sure. I mean, I a lot of my scenes are opposite James, and he was just like, he just committed 100% to that character, and it was so amazing because we spent a lot of time writing it. We wrote with him in mind. In fact, the character was called James for a while, and they were like, "This is ridiculous. What if he can't do it? What if he comes?
What if he can do it as well? He doesn't want to play it."
And what if he
like
comes in the
James?
auditions and he just doesn't get the, because no one's ever seen James really do comedy like this before. And so there were a lot of ifs, and so we changed the name just because we didn't want to be too hot, get our hopes up too much.
I know.
And then we got sent a tape of his audition, and it was just, he just played it so perfectly. And he just, I think that's the thing. I mean, the thing about Jordan is that you 100% believe the ridiculous things he's saying, and he's just so, James is such a wonderful actor that he committed so fully to that. Everything he's saying, that it's just this beautiful, like, hilarious person that you believe, even though he's saying some ridiculous stuff.
That's right. I mean, Jordan and maybe James to a degree, certainly Jordan wears his heart on his sleeve, and James was so good at just playing that kind of open, innocent, kind
like
of
dog.
Optimistic puppy dog, and
I said this in an interview the other day, but like, he's actually emotionally one of the most honest people in the film. Like, he's just everything that comes into his mind is just,
he just says it.
He just says it, and in a roundabout way, it really teaches Mel, and it's really it's kind of really sweetly opens Mel's eyes to you know, what life could be like in a weird way, you know what I mean? Just that he's so open and honest about his feelings, even if his feelings change every second. As soon as he gets another idea in his head, it's like, you know, it's quite different to the kind of person that has been her best friend all these years, Jenna's quite calculated with what she says and how she's kind of controlled Mel a little bit, I think.
Yeah, Jordan is a nice opposite to Jen, I think. Jen is so kind of tightly, you know, coiled and cynical, and Jordan's just this kind of open book of just thoughts and philosophies.
Yeah. And it's hard not to be charmed by that. Even Jen finds it hard.
Even Jen finds it is a little bit charmed by him.
Oh, he's so annoying how sort of right he is.
Yeah. I took I invited my kids along to see the film the other night, and I was listening to where they were giggling, and they were giggling a lot at Jordan and Cephas. You know, that's the characters that they really love, those younger.
Not the old ones.
No, not the old ones. They're kind of young, attractive, funny ones. Is what my kids.
What are you trying to say about me? I'm not attractive.
Cephas and her crew are amazing on screen.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that played to the US audience, and also just the process of pulling that together and getting some FAF swag on the big screen.
That played amazingly. I think also the thing about an American audience, it plays amazingly for both audiences. The thing about American audience is that they recognise, you know, hip hop, obviously, hip hop culture and that kind of.
Is it that fast kind of music?
Yeah. Yes.
She thinks I don't know anything about.
But yeah, I mean, for me, and it shouldn't have been as big a troublesome decision, but actually casting Cephas girls was one of the hardest things. Or Cephas first, in fact, Anna came in and just blew us away with her audition tape. We were just like, she kind of just came in with this wild, crazy hair and this kind of real staunch character. We were all just like, oh, she's the one. And then casting her girls around that, I actually went to see a FAF SWAG show. I'd seen a few FAF SWAG things, but I went with Stu Turner, our casting director, and it was just like, I was like, whoa, this is what we need for our film. We've got to get some of these girls in because their mere presence is so amazing, and they you know, and so we actually had a casting call with a bunch of FAF SWAG girls.
And 15 kind of girls, and they all spent a morning learning a dance, and then Madeleine and I came in, and we came away and thinking, we just need them all. We just need to cast them all. It was really hard to whittle it down.
But we knew that they were just gonna, you know, like that gag of them kind of coming into frame all the time. That they always flank Cephas as their kind of head of their gang, you know.
But we get a lot of questions as well about, you know, Cephas and in the States as well. People are like, who is she? And you know, I think Anna Scottney is. She was straight out of drama school, and Stu Turner just put her on tape, and I just think she does such an incredible job. People will enjoy her.
Yeah, and they just seemed like a crew, you know, like it was. They were just bonded together. I think it was good that they did that audition process where they just learned the dance and stuff. And I mean, we didn't even know Anna could dance, and then she came and she just like blew that away as well. But she's just, I mean, they're just an amazing. They just look amazing to you. They're just so fierce, like it's just insane. That was the day that I got really excited about our film. Actually, I was just like, well, when you start to see it come together, and you start to see, and the other great thing about the FAF SWAG crew in there is that they already had their own inbuilt chemistry, so they just came as like a fully formed thing. I really wish we could have cast 20.
I know.
But we just didn't have enough room in the frame.
One of my favourite scenes in production was it's that scene in a bar, and my character's sitting there, and I'm trying to convince Cephas to help me out, and I'm just sitting there having this drink opposite Anna, and Madeleine was directing. She was just yelling things out, and Anna was just like improvising with her girls behind her. It was so hard not to laugh.
Okay,
I was just
show us what the music. Show us show us the power of song and dance, and she just started like beatboxing and doing all.
We had 2 cameras. Like one's meant to be on me. My footage is completely unusable because I'm just sitting there with my straw, like giggling the whole time, just going. Ah!
Stop laughing, Jackie. Stop laughing. Do more, Anna. Stop laughing, Jackie. Cut.
Turn off Jackie's camera.
Cut. We've got it. It's in the can. Move on.
Wow.
That's my director's style, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Cut. It's in the can. Let's move on.
She had this big kind of horn thing.
Yeah, and a cheese cutter.
Yeah,
and
that's
those
right.
socks that come up to here.
Yeah, this is a fantasy. This is a fantasy.
Yeah.
When the romantic tension with Jordan kind of comes to a head, there's a wonderful song that's kind of stuck out both times I've seen the film by Spank, I believe, and Put It in Your Neck.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, give it to me in my neck. Now,
That
Where
was
did that
just a
come from?
choice by our editor, I think. But it always got in my head as well. And every time I would
It's
be
a
in the
great
edit,
choice.
I'd be like, I've analysed those lyrics. Like, what does
give
it
it
mean?
to me in my neck. I don't know.
I don't know what you're giving.
It's not a great image.
I wanna lay you down and give it to you in your neck.
What are they giving in the neck?
Well, I think, you know,
What?
I just imagine a schlong kind of trying to push into somebody's neck. And unless you've got one of those, had a tracheotomy or something, I don't know
Cool.
how it gets in. That's what I think about.
Give it to you in your neck.
Do you know what I
think it's,
mean?
I think it's just kisses.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just little kisses.
That's nice. Tom Eagle's our editor. He's so good at. It made it so much easier to kind of shape scenes. He'd pull in just like temp music, and some of them would just fall in love with so much, and then say to our producers, "You've got to be able to buy this. You've got to buy this."
Yeah.
And look at the price. And be like,
We were lucky enough to actually be able to get a lot of the tunes that we really wanted. But yeah, it's that thing of like, you know, as you're editing, you're kind of having to balance out some of those post-production
Costs.
Like costs. Like
But we worked with a great
music.
composer as well, Jeremy, and he was very clever at creating, you know, score, but also creating slightly more original, cheaper versions of the music, you know, for some intros and things. He was very clever.
Capturing the vibe of what we'd had in there and then putting his own little twist on it. So.
Yeah.
So you could put all your money into Rikki Morris.
I took you for granted. That's no lie. But now I'm facing the
Yeah.
Oh, this is the second thing that I've used Rikki Morris in actually. He was in we used that song in an episode of Super City,
That's
in the
right.
second season of Super City.
That
And
wasn't
had
one
this
of the
whole-
more expensive ones,
whole-
was it?
No, we had this whole storyline where Rikki, my character, the old singer, was
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
had this past relationship with Rikki.
Oh,
So I
right,
always
yeah,
try and
that's
put
right,
Rikki
that's
in all of my work. I think I had a big crush on him when I was like 10.
Yeah.
Because I just thought he was so handsome with his blue eyes. And like, you know, he used to take RTR countdown.
Have you ever met him? See a lot?
Yeah. He came to the premiere actually last night.
Oh, yeah, I
Good.
did. I saw him. I don't think I recognised him, but okay.
Oh yeah. You were quite drunk last night. You've forgotten, haven't you?
All of this is a lie.
You've forgotten, haven't you?
All of this is a lie.
I meant nothing to you. You gave it to me in my neck.
Okay, so I tried to give it to Madeline in her neck last night because I wanted to explore what that might feel like. She didn't appreciate it. I don't know why.
And my neck didn't either. So I gave it to you in your fucking teeth.
Don't say fucking teeth, just say teeth.
I said to you, I said, Jackie, you know what you need to suck up all that alcohol? A knuckle sandwich. Now you get out of my neck. God damn it.
It must be a vampire thing, I think.
She's pregnant. What the fuck? Just go with it. We did IVF because the eggs are a bit older.
I wanna smash it!